ERS and fuel, two systems you can manage yourself in F1 2020. Do you find yourself getting over the line with not enough fuel or maybe with no ERS battery left? Or do you just want to get better and get the maximum potential out of that car? I will be taking you through everything that I know that could make you faster in managing ERS and fuel. So sit back and relax, here we go. So for this video, I'll be going over what ERS is exactly at the start and how it works. And then after that, I'll give you some useful tips on how to become faster and getting the maximum potential out of your car with the ERS system. And for the last bit of this video, I'll be going over the fuel mix and how you can become better at managing your fuel and how you can become faster with it as well. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. The Energy Recovery System, or so-called ERS system, is a battery storing energy in the form of electricity. The energy can be used to gain more horsepower under acceleration. The battery can be filled up, but it could also deplete. Energy can be harvested by braking, and energy can be depleted by accelerating. Now, there's three main components to manage in terms of ERS. There's deployment, harvesting, and energy storage. These three components can be found on the MFD screen as well as on the steering wheel for if you're driving in the cockpit cam. Now let's go over the MFD screen and show you where these key components are found. The first thing is the storage, which is the yellow bar, which ranges all the way from 100% all the way into zero, of course, if you have an empty battery. So 100% means you have a full battery, 0% empty battery. Now the green bar right below the yellow bar actually depicts how much ERS you can still deploy in that single lap, because every single lap it actually resets itself. And if that bar goes all the way down, then you'll actually go into like an SOS mode where you will not get a lot of deployment from the ERS, which will make you a lot slower. So you do not want to exceed the deployment limit per lap. Now on the right hand side, you have the white bar, which is actually the harvesting bar, which we've been talking about before. So you got the storage bar, which is the yellow one, you got the deployment bar, which is the green one, and you got the harvesting bar, which is the white one. And the harvesting bar will take care of how much ERS you can harvest per lap as well. In race sessions, you'll be using the overtake button, which you can see on the screen right now, to use up energy from your energy storage. In the qualifying sessions, it's a little bit different. In qualifying sessions, you have 0, 1, 2, and 3. 0 meaning none, 1 meaning medium, 2 meaning hot lap, and 3 meaning overtake. Now basically in these qualifying sessions, what you want to be using on your out laps or your save laps whenever you're not pushing is you want to be using none, so you can save your ERS for, of course, your hot laps, which you want to be using overtake throughout in dry sessions. Now there might be some changes for when you are running in a wet session, but I'll get into that whenever we hop into the tips for ERS management. Now in the end, everything comes back to the yellow bar, which is the storage bar. Now I'm gonna give you some tips to manage that storage bar as good as possible, as efficient as possible, and in the end, hopefully you'll get a little bit faster and it'll hopefully be a little bit easier for you, so you don't have to put too much thought into it in the end. Now here we are in the game and I'll show you what exactly is the best way to use your ERS storage and how you can optimize your speed through every single corner and exit, which is going to give you the most amount of time. So what you want to be doing with the ERS storage system is you want to be using your ERS. You want to be clicking on that overtake button on the exit of corners. Whenever you're exiting the corner and you're accelerating, then you want to use the overtake button to give you that extra boost in the acceleration, and you'll carry that extra speed all the way up on the straight, which is going to gain you a lot more time than using it in the corners, for example. Now, a little tip to help you use the overtake button on the exits is wait until the car actually has the traction, so you know you're not going to be spinning it and losing time. You want the car to be as stable as you can, and when you know it's stable enough, then you can hit the overtake button and then you'll gain that extra speed onto the straight or just a short straight, and you'll gain a lot of time. Now, you do not want to use it in the corners, because in the corners you're not going to have that gain that you're actually getting when you're accelerating onto a straight, because you gain that extra speed all the way onto the next straight. Now also, because the overtake button will actually cause you to have more wheel spin in the corners and coming out of corners. So when you're still not stable enough, it's actually going to hinder you a little bit. So make sure you only put it on, you hit that overtake button when you know the car is stable enough, and then it will gain you a lot of time. So wait up until the car is stable enough, then go ahead and hit it. Of course, the ERS storage only has 100%, and you do not want to be the one who is actually going to be at 0% for the entirety of the race. So how do you actually manage that? How do you know how quick you want to deplete energy and how quick you want to be harvesting energy? Now, there's actually a very easy and simple system that is actually, well, I mean, it's a simple maths. Basically what you do is, for example, if the race is 5 laps long, you calculate 20% of ERS per lap is what you can deploy. Of course, you're not always going to be around that exact mark, but try and use it as a guideline, and then you'll find actually that it's going to be quite accurate towards the end of the race. For example, if you're doing a 25% race with 10 laps, use about 10% per lap, and then you're going to be right on point. Now, you can use the overtake button for multiple occasions. You can use it to actually overtake somebody while you're in the slipstream, give you that extra boost. Overall, I would recommend using it only on the exit of corners, not every corner, but within measures of keeping it within that projection of ERS used per lap. Now, there's one circumstance where these tips do not apply, and that is in wet weather racing. When you are in wet weather, doesn't matter if you're in qualifying or if you're in the race, you want to be using the overtake button a little bit later than what you're used to in the dry. Basically, what I've told you before, what the overtake button does is it gives more energy to the engine, which allows it to be faster, but of course it's going to be more unstable. But in the rain, you want to be as stable as you can, otherwise you're going to be spinning on the exit. So you gotta wait a little longer with the deployment of the ERS. Now, for wet weather driving, I actually recommend using the ERS or the overtake button on the straights. So not even on the exits to give you a better run on the straights, but just use your ERS on the straights, and when you're within corners, do not use it at all, or it will make your car too unstable. So use it on the straights in the wet, and in the dry, use it coming out of the corners, and then put it off again when you're on the straights, otherwise it will be depleting too much energy. Now, another tip I could give you is to do with the starts of the race. What you do not want to be doing is you do not want to use the overtake button while you are revving the engine to start while the lights go out. You want to be clear of overtake mode, and then whenever you got the traction, then you want to turn it on to get that extra speed. Accelerating, well, of course you got the stability already. If you do it a little bit too early, you'll find yourself spinning at the start of the race as you had not gotten the traction yet, and the overtake button will only make the situation worse, putting more energy into the engine, allowing you to spin more easily. Now, for the first couple of laps of the race, I recommend you do not use too much of your energy as well, as at the end of the race you are going to be struggling a little bit too much, and at the start of the race you're going to be stuck in traffic anyway. Of course, it might help you whenever you think you can pass somebody to put on that ERS, but if you put on the ERS a little bit too much at the start, you're going to be lacking battery storage at the end of the race or in the middle part of the race already. Now let's go over the part where I help you to get better with managing the fuel of your car. At the start of the race, you can put in how much fuel you want to put into your car. Normally, the game puts in more fuel than you actually need to finish the race. So you can tone this down until you actually are at the halfway point where it will actually say you do not have enough fuel, but you can actually go down a little bit and underfuel the car, and I'll explain you why that is actually sometimes even better than overfueling a car. You're probably thinking, but if I overfuel the car, I can use the engine mode in rich fuel mix for longer. But normally that is actually not even faster, because if you underfuel the car will actually become lighter, and because the car becomes lighter, it will actually become faster. But of course, the rich fuel mix is faster than standard or lean, but if you stay in standard with a lower amount of fuel in your car, then you'll actually become faster. Because if you run in rich fuel mix for a longer period of time, you'll actually hurt the engine and it will overheat the engine, actually making the engine slower than it was before and going all the way to somewhat around the standard fuel mix point. So the best way to manage your fuel is actually to not put too much fuel in the car and do not use too much of that rich fuel mix. Just try and be in standard and use rich fuel mix, of course, whenever you want to overtake somebody or whenever you want to defend on a straight. Now, a couple of tips to help with the traction out of corners that has to do with fuel mix. Whenever you try to accelerate from corners, you actually are best to use the lean mixture or the standard mixture compared to the rich mixture. Because if you're using the rich fuel mix, then the car will actually become more unstable on the exits. The lower you go in fuel mix, the stabler it becomes. Especially, this is a very good tip in the rain. Normally, you want to be using the fuel mix in the rain, in wet weather driving, actually a lot lower than you want in dry weather driving to allow the stability to improve. So in wet weather racing, if you go through the corners, the best thing to use actually is lean mixture. Now, these were all the tips regarding ERS and fuel, but if you'd like to learn more in the future, then make sure you leave in the comments down below what exactly that is, and I might make a video about it in the future. Now, if you like this video, make sure you leave a like down below. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, make sure you do. Hit that subscribe button, totally free, and we're gonna have plenty more awesome content coming up in the future. Also, if you haven't yet followed my Twitch channel, make sure you do, because on Twitch I stream very regularly and we tend to have a lot of fun together with the community. So make sure, if you haven't yet, to catch me live, the link is in the description down below. Make sure you follow my Twitch, and I hope to see you in the live stream sometime and talk with you as well. See you guys later, peace out, and bye bye.